know who is advising the opposition leader, but I wish they would resign. I wish they would go find something else to do, because this campaign, to call it lacklustre is an understatement. It has been so woefully run. They have so much material to work with. They have so many different areas where they can attack the Albanese government. A first-term government, you want to get rid of a first-term government, you better make the case very strongly why they're destroying the country. Otherwise, Australians, as historically they have done, will give the government another go.
Just take
they
the
don't
easy
throw
option,
out first-term governments willy-nilly. And they have just failed to do that on so many levels. It has been such a weak campaign. It seems like they're so preoccupied with winning back these Teal seats that have forgotten about the greater fight. Yeah, you can get back a handful of those seats. It's not going to deliver you government.
They've also forgotten the fact that they had a massive victory only 18 months ago. 60% victory, a landslide victory. Why? Because they stood on the principle that the Australian people did not want the racial division of the voice. Now, to come out now and go, oh, actually, you know, welcome to country is an important part of the thing. This was the moment, James, that Peter Dutton could have stood up and said, we won the voice. We said that we would only have one flag. We've said that we will look at welcome to countries and the waste of money, and Jacinta Price there as the sort of Doge-like person. That was the principles they've had, and all Peter Dutton had to do was stand on that principle and say, I'm sorry, but welcome to country. If we get into government, we will look at whether Anzac Day is the right place for it. That's all he needed to do. So easy.
And yet,
I sometimes just wonder.
And yet, Rowan, this campaign, I think we all have to agree, has been incredibly disappointing from the Peter Dutton camp. You know, let's look at, you said it's been almost 100 years since the last time there was a change of a first-term government. Well, that's largely true, but if you think about it, 2010, Tony Abbott almost did it. And it was, if not for Tony Windsor and the other fella, it would have happened. He did take them out in 2013. And that was the model of being an effective opposition leader, because, you know, there's a huge amount of problems in the country. And Peter Dutton is very good at reciting all the problems, you know, the income's going backwards, the energy prices going up, the inflation. He's great at highlighting all that. But there's no sense of what the action is to solve any of that sort of thing. Tony Abbott, when he was opposition leader, simple, straightforward messaging, told you what he was going to do. Axe the tax, stop the boats. There was no, well, we're going to have an East Coast gas reserve and nuclear power in 30 years. And, oh, well, hang on, the fuel tax credit didn't land, so here's maybe a little income tax credit. And maybe we'll do bracket creep someday, eventually, but we can't afford it now. And this is the thing. Peter Dutton actually talked about tax cuts as being a cost on the budget. And it's like, you're a conservative. Tax cuts aren't a cost. This is about liberating the economy.
You can't... He can't fight as Tony Abbott fought. He can't give these simple policy vows of stopping boats or cutting the carbon tax, because they don't have the policies. Let's be honest here.
Correct.
The substance isn't there. So you can't go out there and say, yep, this and this is wrong, and these are our solutions, when you don't have the solutions. And it's not too difficult. You look at what's happened in this country in the last 3 years, where we've had this mass immigration, numbers we've never seen before, 500,000 a year. You just come out and you point to the problems that's caused, not just the housing issue, but all sorts of other societal and economic issues. And you say, we're going to slash immigration by half for the term of our government. For all 3 years.
Slash it all together. 2 years moratorium on immigration.
You think that wouldn't communicate to the Australian people that this is going to be a referendum on high immigration?
The disappointing thing, though, is that there are so many moments he's had flashes, little flashes where he says things that are really smart. The other day, he was talking about immigration, and he had a great line. He spoke about, you know, he said, Labor in Albanese is for Hotel Australia and we're for Team Australia. You know, that's a great line. That's a really good, easy to understand concept about what the nature of migration is. And it's not anti-migrant, because you're saying, well, we want to bring everybody into the team. These sorts of flashes, though, they get smothered by these sort of endless sort of, you know, attempts to stay triangulated within, you know, between the Sydney Morning Herald and the ABC. and not try and offend anybody. And this is the thing. It's like you're not going to win from opposition if you don't have a good... This is the thing I said at the start of this campaign. You know, you're never going to win if you don't have a big, hard swing at it. And I just feel like, as you say, Rita, the policies haven't been there. I don't know why they weren't selling in big ideas, not just nuclear, which they've been basically afraid to talk about, you know, for at least a year since the voicemail.
It's a cost of living election. We keep being told it's a cost of living election. Energy is a huge part of that, not just for every household, but for industry and it's an inflationary issue as well. Where are there solutions for that before nuclear comes into play in the 2030s? There's been nothing. There's been nothing about we are going to be focusing on cheap, reliable sources of energy as opposed to being preoccupied with emission targets, as has been the way.
The huge mistake they made was not pulling out of Paris. It would have been so
Exactly.
easy. But the basic lesson here, we've been saying it on this program for years now, you go woke, you go broke.